Hi, everyone. I think we are live. Yes, we are. Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Lucy Rosa-Stagi, and my guest today is Libby Adams. Hi, Libby. How are you?
I am so great and happy to be speaking with you today.
Okay, thank you, Libby. Listen, I want to tell my audience, if you're live with us, could you put hashtag live in the comment, or if you're going to see the replay, do hashtag replay, and tell us where you're from. I'm coming in from Mexico. Libby, where are you coming in from?
I'm coming in from Mexico City, so we both are in Mexico. Trust me, we're both Mexican internets.
I know we are. I just want to tell my audience a few things that Libby and I have in common. First of all, we were both educators in the California public school system. We both have obviously homes in Mexico. We love the culture, don't we, Libby? And the daily color, local color, you know, you open your window and there's music in the street, that kind of stuff. We both speak Spanish. And you know what, Libby? We have another thing in common. Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins is responsible for me starting my business. And I think Tony Robbins had something to do with you starting off also, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that in a moment. You know, you have so much going. I met you online, just so that my audience knows. I met you at a 5-day challenge. It was called Take the Stage Challenge, I think. And I had a conflict. I had a conflict because I had another challenge going. So I was going back and forth between the two challenges. And there was a contest going on. Who was going to win? Who was going to be the most, the best participant? And you won that contest.
Yes,
and that's how I knew about Libby Adams. So Libby, tell me, I'm very curious. What did you win?
I won so many things. I won a whole sound, you know, people showing me how to set up my sound. I haven't done it yet, how to set up sound and my background and all of these kind of things for online stuff. I won a 2-minute talk that I get to do with Suzanne Evans in April.
Wow.
I won a course. I won like $25,000 worth of things.
Wow. Now, tell me, how did you win that? Because I tried to win this, but I just was not focused enough. How did you win it? What you did?
What you just said is how I won it. And the word was focus. When I found out that there was a prize and I found out what it was, especially that 2-minute speaking, you know, being on stage with Suzanne Evans, I decided that I was going to win that. And so what I did was I focused. They said, you got to do this. And that's exactly what I did. Everything they told me to do, I did that. I stayed focused on it all the way through until the end. And then that's how I won it. So it wasn't rocket science. It really was focus, like you said, Lucy.
Laser focus. You know, that's my laser focus is what my new term is for 2021. Just want to let you know that. So were you new to the Take the Stage challenge, or do you get involved in these challenges a lot online?
No, I had done one other challenge. I didn't even know there was like a challenge was a thing. I was in a group called JVology Live with Jay Facette, and they had a 12-day challenge, and it was the same thing. I won that one too. They said this. And so I'm like, you know, maybe it comes like, Lucy, as you know, from being school teachers, and like, you know, the teacher tells you what to do, and then a good student, an A student, just does the thing. You just deliver what they ask for and stay focused. And then I won that, and I got a bunch of neat stuff for that too. That's actually how I met or found out about Suzanne Evans.
Oh, that is so cool.
I never done challenges.
That is so cool. So I know, Libby, you know, you're such an active woman. You have a great career. I mean, you know, your bio reads like you're an educator, you're a skilled presenter, you're a course creator, you're a master practitioner of Neuro-Linguistic-Programming. You're a developer of transformational meditation. You're a founder of International Academy of Self-Knowledge. You are partnered with JVology, and we'll talk about that for sure. And a radical course creation you have on your YouTube, I think. And then not only that, but you're a mom, your wife, your grandmother. I mean, how do you do all this? I mean, you know what I want to do? I want to start with who you are. You are Dr. Libby Adams, PhD. What was your field of study?
Transformational education. And that PhD came out of being a regular educator in the California public schools, because as you know, Lucy, we were not in the business of teaching those kids the curriculum of who am I, why am I here on this earth, how do I break through the things that are, you know, the barriers that are preventing me from actualizing my destiny. Like what was your what topic did you, like I taught Spanish in middle school. What did you teach?
I was a Spanish and a French teacher in the high school.
Yes. Okay. All right. So what we know is Johnny comes into our class. We teach him Spanish. My minor was French, by the way. We teach him Spanish. And then Johnny leaves our class, and he's the same Johnny as he ever was. And in my mind, and I bet it's the same for you too, Lucy, when I got into teaching, I thought I was going to make a difference. I thought I was going to change these kids. All I was doing is pretty much babysitting 6 groups of 36 kids all day long, teaching them some Spanish, right?
Absolutely. The same thing that I had. So, Libby, you know, you founded the International Academy of Self-Knowledge. And I think it was in 1994 that I remember. I'm intrigued by the term self-knowledge. And I know that the knowledge industry is a big industry, and it's growing all the time. And it's going to be $1 billion industry in 5 years or 10 years. And I know that self-knowledge today is acquired by Google University. Everybody goes to Google. You could learn everything you want to learn. And I personally have partnered with Tony Robbins, and I'm what you call a knowledge broker. That's just a term. And what I do is I help promote Tony Robbins, the new movement, you know, his new legacy, that self-education is the new norm. And I personally do that by helping. My niche is to help women, mostly single women over the age of 60, you know, extract their special knowledge and share that knowledge with others while they can monetize their wisdom. Now, how is self-knowledge different from self-education?
Self-education is the process of gleaning knowledge from all kinds of different places. In other words, I don't have to go to Cal State Long Beach to take this course. I can go get my master practitioner in NLP and go get educated with them. I can take one of your courses on mastermind.com. I can go, you know, so that's where we're being sovereign from away from traditional learning places where before it's like, well, if you didn't go here, that learning doesn't count. And now we're going, heck with that. I can learn everywhere, right?
Because there are experts everywhere. Yeah.
There are experts everywhere, more than there ever have been. So that is self-education. But self-knowledge is, who am I?
Right.
Who am I inside? And, you know, Dyer said, he's very famous for having said, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. It's the identity. Who am I? Yeah.
No, I love that saying. Yeah. Teilhard de Chardin, I think, came up with that.
Right.
So okay, thank you for the clarification, because, you know, we play around with words a lot, and so that makes it very clear. So you are a transformational coach, correct?
Yep.
And I'm so impressed that you have logged 50,000 hours with one-on-one coaching. I mean, that's transforming a lot of lives, Libby. You know, how were those hours on, you know, one-on-one coaching? How were they done? How'd you do that?
Just, you know, 7 days a week. Lucy, I work 7 days a week. But you know why? Because I love it. There's nothing more fun and exciting than watching someone change and grow and get to where they want to go, right?
Right.
And
so you must have been doing Zoom before Zoom became popular.
Well, when I first started, it was just in the World Trade Center in Long Beach, California, and I had an office. Then I said, you know what? When I'm working with people, a lot of times their eyes are closed. I could work with them on the phone. They don't need to see me. Then it went international. So then it was, I remember this one guy was in South Africa, and this was before Skype. In South Africa, this guy would actually have his calling card, like a phone card to call me from South Africa. Then came Skype, then came Zoom. And so, now it's like people are everywhere. On every continent I work with, except for Antarctica.
Okay. So if we're talking about niche, how would you define your niche? How, do you just work with everybody, or do you have a niche? No. I mean, I work with women, single women over 60, who's your avatar?
My avatar are people that have been on the spiritual path for a while, but they find they're not getting the results that they should be getting being a spiritual person. Like they'll say, I'm a spiritual person. Why am I broke? I'm a spiritual person. Why am I so fearful and anxious? Right? It's like, why are you? Right? So where's the practical application of knowing I'm a spiritual person versus actually getting results that a spiritual person would get?
Right.
So intellectual, it's practical.
So what techniques do you use? You must have a special technique to make that happen, no?
Yes. The most important thing is, as we know, even in education, you got to apply it, right? So knowledge is not power. Jim Rohn, as we know, as Tony's mentor, said, applied knowledge is power. We have to have practical application. And the thing that I find that knocks people off the spiritual game are their emotions, their negative emotions. And then they're like off to the races, going to where they don't want to go.
Right. So, well, you're a practitioner of neuro-linguistic-programming. Now, I know that, I saw Tony Robbins work his magic with that, and it was amazing. Actually, I have a follower who is very interested in asking. He sent me 3 questions to ask you because he's very interested in this neuro, and he couldn't be here because he's in Malaysia. So he's curious about how. Let me see what his question is. He wants to know what techniques you would recommend to condition our brain for success. That was his first question.
So I have an interesting answer for that, Lucy. As much as I've studied neuro-linguistic program, I actually developed my own technique that when I studied NLP in the 90s, like 1991, when I was certified, there was no spiritual application to it. And that didn't work well with me because it was all mental, like the question he's asking, how am I going to rewire my brain? And so I said, you know what? This isn't working for me. I need to bring some kind of a higher power, some kind of a spiritual component into this NLP. And that's exactly what I did. So instead of just trying to have my brain rewire, what I do is we bring out this part that we're wanting to rewire that says, oh, I'm afraid of blah, 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 right? Or I'm afraid I'm going to fail, right? But then we go into the imagination through the subconscious mind into some kind of higher power. Some people believe God, infinite intelligence, the universe, whatever. And then I facilitate with closed eyes a conversation between this part that needs to be rewired and the higher power. Because the part that says I can't do it or I'm afraid is believing some kind of lie. So when the higher power comes out and says, you can do it, you're made out of the God DNA or whatever, I'm here, and then literally bring them together, right there happens the rewiring. So the brain is wired, but it's a spiritual process.
Okay, can you give us an example of something that, that with one of your clients where where that technique, your special technique, was practice?
Yes. I have thousands of examples, but this one pops into my mind as the most notable. So back in 2001, after 9/11, one of my students was a pilot for one of the airlines. I won't mention the one of the ones that were, their planes were involved in that. Okay. So he said to me, every time he would go up to fly after that, he said, every time I fly, and he was a captain, every time I fly, I feel like I'm playing Russian roulette. Ooh. So imagine the anxiety and fear, and this is this guy's job day in and day out, right?
Yeah.
He did one exercise, just like I described. So his word, I think, was like God, right? So this part comes out, and we imagine it. It says, I feel like I'm playing Russian roulette every time I fly. And then he brings out, he makes a picture, God can look like anything. Looks like a golden cloud or a guy with a beard or whatever. So God comes out, this part says, so I say, is this part aware that God's in the other hand yet? And the part's like, what? Huh? It's like that God's in the other hand yet. And it's like, oh. And then I'll ask, does this part trust God? And it's like, yes. That's one of the things that I screen people, that they have some kind of a spiritual belief, because it's a spiritual technique, right? So the part says, yeah. And then I said, so what's God's viewpoint on all that? Meaning, what's God's viewpoint on whether we're playing Russian roulette or not? And God said, I'm flying the plane. Oh. And that's, I couldn't believe its ears. The part's like, wow. And so as a facilitator, I say, did the part hear that? He's like, yes. What did God say? God said God's flying the plane. Would this part like to be able to believe that? And this part like, heck yeah. When those hands, as soon as those hands come together, then here comes the new programming of, the truth is, every time I go up, God's flying the plane. So bam, anxiety's gone, fear, all the fear is gone.
Oh my God. So, I had a mother, my mother passed 4 years ago. I was very close to her. And I'm a traveler, and I love to travel, and I have no problem. But my mother, was so afraid of planes. I mean, so she would never go anywhere. And I know that I would plan trips with her, and she wanted to go. And I remember I wanted to take her to Scotland. I got everything ready. I said, okay, Mom, I'm making the reservation, a month before, so we're going, right? She said, no, I can't do it. I mean, what would you do with somebody like that? I mean, can you take care of that emotional fear?
Yes. As long as somebody has a belief in some kind of a higher power, because that's pretty much a phobia. That's not even just a small belief of like, oh, maybe, I'm afraid I'm going to be late or something like that. Okay. That's a long-standing thing. So the only thing, in my opinion, that's going to fix a phobia like that is that she's got to talk to some kind of universal power that's going to reassure her. It's like, you know what? When you go on vacation or when you do the traveling, I'm there with you. It's not just you. It's not just you in the plane. It's not you in the plane and the pilot. I'm there. And then we get into a whole thing, Lucy, that brings up their point of view on death. It's like, well, how do you see death? It's like, we're all going to die, right? And one of my favorite things that I learned in NLP is the idea of useful beliefs, that we don't know if something is necessarily true, but it's really useful, right? For example, a really useful belief about death is nobody goes before their time.
True.
Now, if we're in a court of law, could you prove nobody dies before their time, nobody goes before their time?
No way.
No. But could you disprove it? Could you disprove that nobody goes before their time?
No. You couldn't.
So then why wouldn't we, between the two, if we can't prove it or disprove it, why wouldn't we go for the belief that brings us the most peace? Like, and then we work with the part of you, or the part of your mom that's believing like there might be an accident and she might die by mistake. And it's like, you say to your mom, it's like, okay, so are you going to show up to the pearly gates? And then like God's going to say, what are you doing here? I didn't know. Oh my gosh, what a tragic mistake. And it's like, it sounds ludicrous when we say it. It's like, it makes sense that nobody goes before their time. But the point is, doesn't matter whether it's true or not true. It's important to adopt a belief that if I believe I'm going to go, on this trip, and if it's my time to go, I go. Then here goes. Now, that's not to say we do dumb stuff. Like, say, if it's my time to go, I'll just jump in front of a truck. And if it's not my time, I won't go. It's like,
no, it doesn't work like that.
No.
You may have been able to help her, actually. We tried so many bloody things. It's like, but she had this great belief in God. And so, doing it that way, I think it might have worked. Oh my God, I wish I'd known you before.
Right. And I think that it would have, right? Because if that's why I screen people to have some kind of a spiritual belief, because otherwise, it's like I'm saying, like, God is in this hand. God is the resource that we're going to use with this part that has the phobia, right? And if somebody doesn't believe in a higher power, they're going to go, why is Libby talking about, the universe and the higher power? What does that have to do with my traveling? And so I screen people. They don't have to have 100% trust. They just have to have a belief in some kind of a spiritual something. And then they're not saying, oh, that's a load of crap. Oh, that stuff's yes, right?
Right. So, coming back to my client's questions, because he did have 3 questions. I do want he would like to know, how can we use NLP to help our clients? Is this a technique that we ourselves could use to help our people?
So this technique that I just was describing and giving you the example of, I call transformational meditation. So what it is I have an issue, I go into meditation, I transform it, I come out. It's a very specific technique that I train people to do. Okay. And people can't necessarily do it by themselves, because there are 3 roles. There's the part that has the problem, there's the higher power, and there's the facilitator, facilitating that conversation between the 2. And so that's the work that I do, Dave. Those 50,000 hours, Lucy, meditation on.
Oh my God, so that is outstanding. Okay, I think there was another question. It was, what are the, he asked, I think you've answered it, because his next question was, what are the quick NLP hacks to catch someone's attention? He's a firm believer in the NLP, because he's a firm believer in Tony Robbins. I've seen Tony Robbins work. I don't want to say his magic, but it looked like magic to me. But so what are some maybe hacks that we can use to catch someone's attention? Is there any such thing that you can share with us?
I'll tell you what I would think would be more useful for him, instead of focusing on that, is to focus on, like, NLP has to do with the language of the mind, right? And the language of the mind is self-talk. What am I telling myself, right? So the most important thing, or the most important NLP hack, would be, make sure you're aware of your thoughts, because your thoughts are going to create emotions, and then the emotions are going to cause us to act, right? Like, if I'm fearful, let's take your mom on the plane, right? Your mom is thinking, it's like, Lucy, what do you think your mom would have to be thinking to be afraid to travel?
That she was going to die.
Right? So that is a thought, right? I'm going to die is a thought. And then when she's thinking, I'm going to die, what emotion does that create?
Fear. Yeah.
And then when she's fearful that she's going to die, what action is she going to take?
She's going to do everything to she's not going to go. she's not going to get on that airplane.
She is not going to get on the airplane. So the important thing is, remember, in neuro-linguistic programming, linguistic is the language. Right. That's going to program your neurology. So the most important hack of NLP is the language, which is the self-talk. What am I thinking? Thinking is language, right? But it's just in your head. It's not out loud. Sometimes we say it out loud, but it's thinking is language in my head. So if I notice that I'm having a thought, well then, if that thought's not serving me, then I better change it. Or a lot of times they have thoughts, but they aren't even aware they're having the thought.
Right.
But if I'm having a thought that's negative, like I'm going to die on the plane, and maybe she's not even aware, wasn't aware of that, what's going to happen is she's going to have a negative emotion. The negative emotion is like a fire alarm going off that something's going on. It's an alert. Something's going on in my head.
Right.
So we want to watch those emotions. And if I have a negative emotion, I'll break it down in a really practical way. Okay, Lucy. So if I have a negative emotion, then I ask myself, what would I have to be thinking to feel so fearful? Well, I have to be thinking the plane is going to crash.
Right.
Then here comes the hack. Question it, challenge it, say, is that statement true?
Yeah.
Like,
so get in the mind of your clients. Really, you have to get in the mind of your clients and, be thinking about what may be coming up for them, So, and it's really what you learn in some marketing, courses. But okay, then there's NLP and there's NLC. What's the difference between those two?
Are you NAC like Tony did? Like Tony had? Neuro-Associated Conditioning? Yes. That was Tony's take on NLP.
Okay.
That was who took it and sort of synthesized it with some of his Tony magic and called it NAC. And I studied that also.
Did you? What happened? You studied it. It's amazing. Okay, that is great. Now, you have written a book, I think, I know you have, and it's called The Positive Purpose of Negative Emotions. And I'm thinking, what could be positive about negative emotions? I'm going to ask you the question. What could be positive about negative emotions?
What's positive and fantastic about the negative emotions is they are letting us know. They are alerts. They are smoke detectors. They're messengers to let us know that we're thinking something that we better challenge, right? So a minute ago, I was saying we have thoughts, but we don't necessarily know that we're having them. But when that emotion comes up, that we notice. For example, one time I was going to pick up my kids in the 90s in my Dodge Mini Caravan. And I felt anxious, and I noticed it because generally I'm not anxious. So I said, what would I have to be thinking to feel so anxious? And then I answered myself, I'd have to be thinking, I'm late to pick up the boys. They're going to be upset and I can't handle it. Boom, 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 came right out. And then I said, is that statement true? I said, well, they take the bus. I don't know if I'm late. That bus is late half the time. They're going to be upset. I don't have a crystal ball. Maybe they'd be playing with their little buddies. I can handle it. What are they going to do? Fire me? Dock my pay? And then the anxiety left. So the anxiety let me know that I was thinking something that was wrong. So when I became aware of the thought, I just changed it. And then the anxiety was gone.
So it's all about noticing what you're noticing, really, and asking your question, really, I mean, great question. What is making me anxious? I mean, we just get into the emotion and we twirl with it, and we don't ever, and so the thought just becomes more negative, but we don't stop and think, okay, what is making me, anxious here? I mean, we can all ask ourselves that question, but you have to be really aware to be able to do that.
Well,
but you can train yourself.
Yes, you train yourself that way that and what you're learning is that there's a message that negative emotion isn't something to be discarded or spin around and twirl, I think was your word. It's to say, hey, it's like a screaming baby. The screaming baby either needs, he's either got a poopy diaper and saying, change me, or the baby's thinking he's by himself and, he's afraid because he thinks he's alone and he's been abandoned, which isn't actually true. So in closing, go ahead.
Or he's hungry. The baby's hungry,
Hungry.
Yeah.
It's
So
a message.
yeah, it is a message. No, that's a great way to look at it. Well, yeah, that I love all this thinking that because we can, it is so important to know what you're thinking, because it guides your life. It determines who you're going to be, what you're going to do, and everything else about your future, really. So what you're thinking today is what you're going to reap tomorrow, so to speak.
Yes.
Okay, I want to talk about you are a partner in JVology. JVology, what is that?
JVology is a group of business people that meet each other and find people that are in non-competitive businesses, and they can help. They can partner up. It's like, well, you do such and such, and my people need such and such, and I do this, and so then we partner up. For example, a majority of the people that I work with are stock traders, trade commodities and futures and things like that. And the reason I have all these people is a joint venture that I have with a group in North Carolina called the Van Tharp Institute. They teach people how to trade, and I do trading psychology. So their course, my course, is a requirement for them to graduate. And so they pass the leads on to me, and then we have, profit sharing. So that's what a JV is, a joint venture. And JVology is a bunch of people. It's at jvology.com with a manual.
So it's an organization, right? Who created that organization?
Jay Fisette, F-I-S-E-T, in Canada. He's a Canadian. It's a fabulous organization.
Okay. So if anybody wanted to, for example, partner with you, how would they go about doing that? Would they need to join the organization, or how would?
No. They could just contact me directly. They could just contact me directly if there's somebody that says, hey, you know what, the best place that I end up in a JV is somebody who has some kind of an educational program, but their people aren't able to. They're not like getting through the program. They're not getting the program done. They're getting stuck. So I help people get through the programs that they already paid for, so that they'll have good testimonials, because they'll give good results. I know how to get results, how to get people results and support them in that.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So you have some great tools. So how can people work with you? How would they contact you? I do know that your Facebook URL is in the ticker down below. Is there any other way that they can contact you, reach out to you?
Yeah, there are a couple of things. The first thing I want to do is make available the ebook that's talking about the positive purpose of negative emotions. So people can read about what we were just talking about. Is that statement true? What's the truth? My anxiety is gone. That's explained in this ebook, and people can just contact me via the Facebook that you've got down there on the banner, and just private message me and say, hey, I want that ebook. And then they'll be in contact. And the other way, if they want to know more about the transformational meditation and the two hands, and do a little bit of meditation, they can go to my website, academyofselfknowledge.com.
Okay.
And there's a whole masterclass, the long version of what I was talking to you about, the two hands and the universe and all that stuff.
Right. So what I'd like for you to do is if you don't have time, I'll do it. Is after we finish the interview, in a comment down below, if you would just say, please contact me here, at your international academy, and so that just put it in one of the comments.
I'll put it there.
Or I could do that myself. So it was such a great joy to be with you and spend time with you, Libby. You have some wonderful, wonderful talents and certainly tools to help people move forward and get to where they want to go. And so I just want to thank you so much for your time today. And thank you for being with us. It's been a pleasure.
I want to thank you too. You know, after 26 years of talking about the same stuff, Lucy, I never get tired of talking about it.
I know. That's because you're aligned. This is your passion. This is you. It's not work. It's fun for you. I can tell. You know. You shine and you smile, and it's in your blood, and so it's part of you. So you know, it's no wonder. So so thank you again. Thank you for being here. And I just want to say to my audience that if you have a story and you want to be interviewed, message me and we can make that happen also. Okay, so I'm going to say goodbye to my guest. Goodbye, Libby. And goodbye.
I just put that link in the chat. Thank you, Lucy. Goodbye, Lucy. Adios, amiga.
Adios. Nos vemos pronto. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.